You are now listening to or watching the It Takes All Kinds podcast.
Yeah, and if you aren't, you can head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and listen to us now. Or head on over to Drib on YouTube and watch the video version as well.
And if you'd like to stay up to date on when we're releasing a new episode or any other fun information about the podcast, you can give us a follow on Instagram at It Takes All Kinds Podcast and on Twitter at ITAC Podcast. That's ITAK Podcast.
Without saying much else, we hope you enjoy this episode.
Hello, this is Elon Musk, and you're watching the It Takes All Kinds podcast. Hello, this is Elon Musk, and you're watching the It Takes All Kinds podcast.
Our special guest is Elon Musk.
Well, everybody, welcome to the It Takes All Kinds podcast, episode 69. Very nice episode, and of course, we're spending this episode with a very popular, well-esteemed guest, Chris Chan.
Gavin and I came up with a character name. Well, Gavin said Chris Chan for some reason. Yeah. And then I said, "Oh yeah, you actually used to go to church to be a Chris Chan." And then I was like to study Chris Chan Hannity.
And I said that's Sean Hannity's son, Chris Chan Hannity.
So now we have a character. Okay, Do Not Disturb is on.
Notify anyway.
And then I was like, we need to have a character named Chris Chan Hannity. So that's what we believe in is Chris Chan Hannity.
Yeah. Who's our guest this week?
Well,
you know him.
I kind of know him a little bit because I actually I work with him. He's actually my boss. Oh yeah, that's his name. Yeah. Matt.
I actually don't know his last name.
You don't know his last name? Oh my God, Captain Carlin, Matt Carlin.
Oh yeah.
Producer Matt of the the Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker. Podcast live show. It's not really a podcast. Okay, you do that bit, and I really don't like it. We had on. Stop! I can't do it. You're gonna make me lose my goddamn mind.
I'm really good.
We had on my boss,
Chris Chan.
Chris Chan Hannity. No, we had on Matt Carlin, producer Matt of the Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker podcast. In case you don't know, I work for the show. Found out I am the associate producer. Confirmed with my boss. I'm gonna reach across the table and I'm gonna knock you out. I can't do it. Chris Chan Hannity. So we had him on. It was great. We're doing a little post intro right now. And what was the date? What's today's date?
Today is Chris Sunday, June 26th. You'll be hearing this Friday, July 1st.
I know, and you know what really grinds my gears about this episode?
What's that?
This would have been our 4th of July special. And thanks to Chris Chan, Matt, we don't get to do it. We don't get to celebrate America this year, Gavin.
You're goddamn right.
And you know what? That might be just okay this year.
I was going to say, there's not a lot of independence anymore.
I'm perfectly fine with that. No, all jokes aside,
we're fucked.
Well, yeah, of course we're fucked. We're not going to get into that this episode. Well, we kind of did a little bit. No, we are so thankful to have had Matt on and for episode 69. And really, you get really into some 69 spectaculars during the show.
Yeah.
We talked all things Office Hours, talked all things Matt Carlin. Lots of beans were spilled. Garbanzo.
We got a big hit piece on Hollywood from Mr. Carlin himself.
Mr. Carlin spilt all.
Mr. Carlin spilt them.
He spilt them. He spilt them and he dealt them. And I say without further ado, without much rambling, Gavin, shall we get into it?
Absolutely.
Without further ado, here is our interview conversation thing with producer Matt Carlin of the Office Hours Live podcast with Tim Heidecker. Take it away. What should we get going?
Is this the podcast?
This is it. We're gonna do a little pre-intro after. So
sure. So
yeah.
This isn't actually it. This is actually it.
This is it.
This is it now. Now this
is a clap sync. Ready, Carson?
All right. Thank you for clapping that. Thank you. I do appreciate that. So everybody, we are joined by Mr. Matt Carlin, aka Captain Carlin. aka producer Matt of the Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker podcast.
We have some very important boys with us today.
We do. You got a lieutenant and a captain.
Yeah, that's the highest I can count to.
Right.
Lieutenant, captain.
I don't know anything after that.
What anything after that?
I discovered a grave error regarding that.
Oh,
A
no.
lieutenant is higher than a captain.
Oh.
So I fucked up.
You did. That means I think
Big
I take
time.
your job now, actually.
Yeah.
Be my guest. Enjoy.
No, you are our guest. Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
You're our guest. Well, how are you doing, Matt? How's it going in your world?
I'm fine. I'm fine and dandy. I'm riled up about the Supreme Court and doom scrolling with the rest, but I can't personally complain.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I try
Right.
not to. Except
Yeah.
to my therapist and my wife and my
Those aren't the same
close
thing.
confidants.
Yeah. Those
Right.
are the same thing.
Your wife and your therapist.
No, I'm not married to my therapist.
Oh,
no.
okay.
Keep that
He's a
separate.
nice man.
Right.
Yeah, I spent all of yesterday doom scrolling too. I didn't do anything yesterday. I slept from 5 a.m. to noon and then slept 1 to 6. So
There
it
you
was a
go.
good day.
And then
Oh
you're
wow.
And then I had to be at work at 7 a.m.
nice. That's the way to
5
do it.
a.m. to noon. How does that work?
Uh,
Where you go to sleep at 5?
Yeah, uh-huh.
That's
Normal day.
typical.
That's typical for me. I'm a gamer. Real gamers stay up late, real gamers.
right.
For
Yeah.
real?
No. But I do.
Just this gamer.
Just this gamer.
You're staying up all night playing video games?
Yeah, the brand new this game just got free to play. I wish I had Gavin's Techno World here, but there's a brand new video game called Fall Guys that had been out on PlayStation only for like a whole 2 years now, but they
Right.
finally released it on Xbox and PC and other, it's
It wasn't released
cross-platform.
on those before.
No, it wasn't. So I was playing that all night,
Right.
trying to get a win, trying
Matt
to get a dub.
Matt loves
Matt,
video game talk.
You know who loves video games, and I'm glad I brought this up with you guys, both of you.
Oh yeah.
I know how
we
much
love-
I know how much Carson loves video games.
Yes.
By proxy, I know how much Matt would.
Right.
I tuned out once I heard there's a new video game.
I'm right there with you. I'm
Turned right off.
not a gamer guy here.
So Matt, I'm just gonna start us out here. Who the heck are you? Who the heck is Matt? Huh?
Yeah.
How do you know him? Who is he to me?
I don't
Who
know
is he to anybody?
Who is Matt Carlin?
Who are you,
Who
Matt?
are you? What do you do?
I'm the producer of Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker and DJ Doug Pound and Vic Berger. I live in Los Angeles with my wife and child and 2 cats. That's it. That's all there is to
Wow.
it. That's
Well,
the
that just
long and
about
short
does
of
it.
All right. Well, that wraps up our interview today.
Thanks, guys.
2
You
cats.
got all the info you need?
I think that's
You
it.
set?
That's it.
That'll make a good
Edit this
clip,
into
and we
something
can
funny?
we can put that in a clip and put it out there. And
There you
yeah,
go.
so you are the producer of Office Hours Live with Tim Heidecker, and what does that entail for you?
I'm Carson's boss. I forgot.
Right. You are my boss, and that's why I am very nervous because this could get me fired.
Yeah.
And Gavin's coming in real
Yeah.
hot
And
right now.
I want to get you fired, Carson. That's
You wanna
my
get
goal.
my job.
Yeah. I want to get your
I'll
job.
fire.
Yeah.
I'll fire Gavin.
Yeah.
Just for fun.
There we
Alright.
go.
Gavin's fired.
All right. See you.
That's it.
Fired.
What does that entail? Because I feel like people have a loose understanding of what a producer does in general, but then you do it for a podcast, but then you do way more than just producing the show. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, producer is one of those like vague terms that can mean anything really. It's just kind of a catch-all. So I think it depends on the podcast and how many people are involved, and but for this one, since it's relatively speaking pretty small, I'm doing just kind of everything, like not from a technical standpoint, but like making sure everybody knows what time to show up, booking guests, creative input for sure, wrangling interns and assistants, and booking live shows, which happens sometimes, and And then, we have a tech team of a couple nice fellows who, they handle that aspect, and whatever shit needs shoveling, I'm shoveling. That's the long and short of it.
So you do everything.
He gets down and gritty.
Right. You do
Gets
everything
on the mud.
Somewhat.
up until like more. You're less doing technical stuff and more just the.
Yeah, I
wrangling
just
and doing all
because I don't know. I'm not like I can edit a little bit and sort of mix a little bit in Logic, but I'm not like, and I can, video edit a little bit on Final Cut, but I'm not by any means an expert. And I don't, I have a basic conceptual understanding of the streaming stuff, but I'm not like, that's not my expertise.
Right.
So we have Wes and Luke really
great
doing
guys.
that. When I first started on the podcast, I was also doing the audio mix in quotes, because it was just like I had somebody set up a template for me in Logic, and I'd kind of like just give it a quick try to boost levels, and it, if you go back and listen, it did not sound very good.
Yeah.
It improved a lot once
Right.
Luke started doing it.
Right. I actually didn't even know that. I don't know if that's known lore or anything.
I mean, it's
but
not that interesting, but
it might be. It
there's
is to
a
me.
reason to know it.
Right. No, exactly. But so you kind of mentioned it, but you had never really done anything like this until the guys brought you on.
Yes and no. I mean, my background is marketing and production of just like all digital productions. So, I have in my past produced podcasts that nobody would listen to for like marketing purposes.
Right.
Kind of many years ago, I did that. So, there's a general, I feel like once you have done one or two different things, you just like, I don't know, you could figure it out. The learning curve is relatively short for a lot of stuff. So like I had never edited video per se on Final Cut, but like, I understood the concept and
The work that goes into it.
Right.
Yeah, or the actual like editing video, because like for a while I was editing most of the clips that would get put on social media. So I just kind of like, nobody else was doing it. So I mean, sometimes Vic and Doug would do it, but I'd have to like chase them down, and so then I just started doing it. But then we kind of built a farm team of fans and friends of the show now who do the dirty work and are better at that stuff than me. I mean, that's just kind of one part of it, but
Right.
I think I've been a producer for many years in different capacities. So, this one's a little trickier than just an audio podcast because of the, the streaming and the video aspect, but it's not, you figure it out.
Right. Right. So jumping ahead a little bit here, but I mean, I feel like there was as somebody who, in case you don't know, I know you know, but in case the listeners don't know, I became a fan of Office Hours in 2020. So it would have been probably a month after you actually started there.
Right.
But, and then after becoming a fan, I listened back and just like, there was such a huge change in the show once you joined on. And I'm not trying to like, I don't want to like sell anybody else short, but I feel like that was like so much of a lot of your doing in that. I know that Tim was kind of off of doing stuff as much, so that gave him the opportunity to put more time into it. But I really feel like things changed so drastically when you
Gave him a direction.
came on. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it evolved. I think I haven't gone back and like listened to a whole show.
Right.
But I think those first few where I was technically the producer, I actually wasn't doing much the first like 2 or 3, because I was just kind of figuring out where I fit in. So, I think it was a gradual change, and there's a cat over here. Sorry.
Get him out of here. He's not a guest.
My tail. But so, I certainly I'll take plenty of credit for sure. But yeah, it was a function of like Tim having time and energy to devote to it, everybody being in lockdown and not having anything else to do. But it really, I guess my role was more like assembling the team, because those first 3 or 4 where we were at Doug's house, like those were rough. And that was still it was on a network called Starburns, the podcast, and they were responsible for the audio,
Right.
and they really had no horses in the race for the video aspect. So it was like Tim would just stream it, and there's this guy Aristotle from Starburns, who people heard about in the earlier episodes, and he was actually there for those first few that I was there. And so he was doing, it was I forget what it was called, it was like this streaming box,
Okay.
like a self-contained streaming thing run over Wi-Fi, essentially. Blanking on the name of the product, but
Roku.
so it was sort of an afterthought, and like there weren't really, it was just iPhones set up. Like the guys would literally attach their own iPhones to the system. Like we didn't even have like a show iPhone.
Right.
So it was like really low budget. And and then we found Wes. I found Tom first. Tom reached out.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, who you've have you met him? Or
Yeah, you're talking about Tom
Tom Morello.
Tom Mendoza.
Yeah.
Tom Morello.
Yeah, Tom Morello.
Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine was our first intern.
He reached out and he really wanted to be on.
He was tired of music.
Right.
This guy Tom Mendoza, he reached out and was like, "Your show's a mess. I could fix it."
That's
I
awesome.
was like, "All right, hot shot." Like, so then we talked more, and we talked on the phone, and he was like, he basically wanted my job.
Oh.
He was like, "Well, I don't do the actual streaming and stuff, but oh shit, did we freeze?"
Uh-oh, maybe. Ours just froze. It didn't crash, though. Oh, now we're
Hey,
back.
there it is.
We're back.
Sweet.
And we're back.
And we're
So
back.
he kind of was like pitching me on my job, and I was like, "Well, we don't really need that, but I need like somebody who can like set up a system and knows streaming and knows cameras." And he was like, "Oh, my roommate Wes, I think he's maybe more that." And so he introduced me to Wes, and then that's when it really started happening. I mean, Wes doesn't get nearly enough credit. Like it would be, he set it all up. He built out a system. He really made it happen. And then we kind of pieced together other, like the set is, I don't know if you guys watch On Cinema, the set design was actually Ayaka from On Cinema, who's like her day job is, or her actual life, not when she's on Cinema a couple episodes, is set decorator or production designer. I don't know what her exact title level is, but she designed the set for us and actually came and built it out and hung the curtains and had the now retired neon sign made. And so like, we just kind of like pieced it together.
Right.
Does that make sense? Is that
Yeah. No, I was following that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I
boring or slightly boring?
No,
Let me know what
I'm entertained. I didn't know that all this stuff was going into the show, to be honest with you.
I
at
knew
all.
some of it, but I didn't know how in depth it went into it, and then the back lore of it all and everything.
Yeah, I mean, making a show there's a lot of
moving pieces.
Annoying stuff to do.
Right. Things you
Right.
have to do, but you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people enjoy those aspects, so you really have to find the people who enjoy doing each of the or are even capable. It's a bonus if they also like it, which we're we're really lucky we have people who like, because we've all been to like shows that you can tell the sound man is not really interested. Not much fun.
They're out.
Effect on the product.
Yeah, no, and like you said, I obviously don't mean to sell anybody short, but Wes definitely, I just meeting him and understanding more of what he does and what he's done to like change the, how everything on that side operates. I mean, he's way smarter than I'll ever be. His knowledge of that kind of stuff is crazy. And
at first he was just sitting on there was this
Mhm.
big ugly brown couch, and he was just sitting in there, and then we decided to build, like, we didn't even have that control room.
right.
So like that was a big step. We built out that control room and had to like hire. I know I always say guys because they are guys, though. Unfortunately, it's
Right.
hard to find.
Bunch of white
Not-
guys.
A bunch of white guys.
Yeah.
We could definitely do better at that, but for whatever, that's the default. So
Yeah.
we had these guys built out the control room, and it's been an evolution.
Right.
It's a real hole in the
Exactly.
wall
Really.
operation.
It really is.
It really is.
I mean, literally, it's
Yeah.
Tim's garage,
Right. Exactly. Which I still don't. Yeah. It is crazy considering I've
Yeah, I know.
can
It's
say
crazy
I've now
'cause you've
been
there.
there and just
Now
seeing
you
it,
work
so-
for. Did you work for office hours? Right?
a little bit.
Okay.
That's our inside joke on the show.
Yeah,
Is
because
that
Carson just doesn't say enough about it.
I always
and
talk
stuff.
about it.
Just 'cause I
Oh
love
yeah,
it.
yeah. I know. You never
Yeah.
talk about it.
Yeah,
No, never.
and he went to LA for this too.
I
He went
did.
all the way out to LA.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. I went all the way out there.
yeah.
And speaking of, real quick, to sidebar for a second, but Matt, what's my title other than obviously lieutenant? But what's my job title? Because I don't even
This
know.
is
if
also
I know.
partially like a job interview for him because he's
Right.
trying to. Yeah, he's trying to
Well,
move
for
up.
you.
Yeah,
But you just got
right.
fired.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, I'm fired already, but
trying to get your own assistant. I always just say our assistant. But
Right.
I don't know if that's insulting to you.
well, I
It's
said
gonna be whatever
assistant
you
to the
want.
producer.
Yeah.
That's lousy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's loud.
Yeah,
Right. I mean, it doesn't offend me at all.
I think if I were writing your resume, I would probably say associate producer.
Mhm.
That's what I was.
That's
That's
cool.
another thing we were thinking.
That's what I've been saying to people, but I always feel like that sounds like
You're doing
I
more.
think. Well, I mean, yeah, but also makes it sound like I'm think I'm
Big boss
hot
on the
shot
yeah.
or something. I don't know. I always just I don't know.
Big boss in the chair.
I mean, the titles are so like. To me, there's nothing dumber than when you either meet someone or you're like looking at someone online and clearly it's just them and maybe one or two other people and they call themselves a CEO.
Mhm.
Right.
That kind of phenomenon, and you're always just like, what is wrong with this person's brain? Like, who gives a shit? Like,
Right.
CEO is such a corny title. Like, why would you choose that?
Founder.
But
Founder's
associate
another one that kind of
producer.
gets me.
What's that?
Founder's one that always kind of gets me. They're like, oh, it's like one or two people.
Founder,
It's like,
yeah,
well,
It's like
You
you
and-
had
you
an
and your
idea
friend-
and then somebody
yeah.
else did it for you or something.
you and a
Yeah,
friend go
it's-
went ahead and started that together.
Right.
So now you're co-founders.
Right.
Yeah, it's so stupid. So like, I mean, to me, office hours by design is very much, I mean, there's a hierarchy, but it's, it's attempting to be more of a collective sort of model.
Right.
So like, if Wes feels strongly about something, he can either just do it or we can talk about it. And like 9 times out of 10, the answer is yes, go for it,
Right.
So it's not like,
And even
It's
you
not
guys
that
feed off of each other for creative input because Carson makes clips for the show. Like you guys feed off of each other for
Right.
like
so,
inspiration and like
Right.
talking
Sure,
about things.
yeah.
It's a lot of collaborating.
Right. So
to get
titles-
ideas across.
titles don't really matter
Matter,
for
yeah.
what we do because we all kind of do different things.
Yeah.
Especially you guys. I mean, I only do.
He's
little
Mr.
bit,
Remote
but-
work. I work from home.
I work from home.
Oh, what a privilege.
But like titles really only matter for this, I guess, and they don't really matter. But like when somebody
I
asks
mean,
what you
sometimes
do,
they're
Yeah.
useful for like context. So like,
right,
I think if I was just sitting there working the phones, it would be a little strange. And I think that was the reaction at first, was like, who's this fucking guy?
right. to
And for
you
you,
or to
yeah.
yeah,
Not to me, not to my face necessarily,
right,
but
right,
I think there was some resistance and some, I mean, the more common one was where's Aristotle, just to like be a, internet troll type. But
I'll still see those pop up in the chat every once in a while.
yeah, now I think they're
Yeah.
more just like goofing around.
Right.
Like I think there's some of them are literally curious, where is Aristotle?
Yeah. It's been 2 years.
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's in a ditch in the desert. I had to murder him to get the job.
Yeah.
It's what you got to do.
But I think there's useful context to like, for regular listeners, it's like now they understand, there's this fourth person who's doing a bunch of stuff. They don't necessarily need to know what it is, but I think it sort of gives me a little more license to run the show and then for you, I think the Zoomers certainly know who you are by now, and the regular listeners probably do. And so, to just say, he's assistant or associate producer or whatever, it's just like a useful cue to be like, oh yeah, that's not, I don't know, I shouldn't yell at them on the internet.
Right. No, that definitely makes sense, just to have that label works for whenever you're, like you said, in context. So
yeah, but you're also not a controversial figure. You're a likable.
No,
you're a likable. I'm a villain on the show. You're a likable.
You're like Pinky in the Brain. He's the smart one. He's hey boss, come take a look at this. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I maybe I might get to my villain arc soon. I don't know, but.
I wouldn't recommend it. I had to back off on that. I think
you took it too far.
I think really. People don't like it when I people don't like it if I chime in rudely on the show. They like when Tim does that.
Right. That's Tim's job. Yeah, I do like it whenever you do it sometimes. It is funny, but I know what you mean.
Sparingly now, yeah.
Right. You don't want to overuse it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of something I had. We have a list of questions and stuff just to kind of like occasionally look at. But that was kind of one of the things that you and I briefly talked about at one point. And you kind of brought up now is that, like, when you were first on, or not first on, but started getting more of like a pivotal role on the actual show, some people weren't as receptive to that as others. And
people on Reddit,
yeah, what was that all about? Unreceptive, yeah. Because I just, as a listener of the show, remember when Tim brought it up.
When you hated him.
When I remember hating Matt.
I loathed Matt.
Yeah. I was one of the people on Reddit. No, I just remember when Tim brought it up on the show and talked about it. And what was that? What was the whole? The whole situation of that.
It wasn't a situation. They were just like, there'd be
trolls,
occasional negative comments on Reddit saying we don't like this guy. Was the gist. And then I think there was a sense of me overstepping bounds.
Sure.
I think it gave you like a reality check of where some people might be seeing you and whatnot.
Yeah, well, it was a reality check for me to be like, maybe I should like chime in a little less, because it's also like once you get comfortable and like the fun thing about the show is sometimes you just get very comfortable and you're not really performing anymore, you're just hanging out, and so but there's always an element of performance, so it's I don't know, it was useful information. I don't like, there was one I remember I got into like. There was one I like got into basically not an argument, but I sort of tried to make my point in a funny way on Reddit, and this person got like really bent out of shape. And then from then on, I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm not gonna, like, it's just best to not engage.
Right.
But also I like found my footing better, I think.
Right. It was somewhat mutual in a way. At the end of the day, I was just curious about all that because I only remember briefly Tim bringing it up, and then we. And
that was more, that was more a goof. There wasn't like any actual dramatic incident.
Right.
It was more just like a running joke.
Right.
Of like, because what there was it just came up again. Was it in the compound? I can't remember. No, I think it was something else. We just shot the last compound, so that's fresh in my mind.
Nice. That's exciting.
News.
Breaking news on the show.
Yes.
Because it even got to, I remember somewhat recently, people talking about they for some reason hated Doug, It just kind of like it went around to like. Didn't they say they hated Doug or hated like his sound bites or something? Weren't people saying that recently, or was that just another?
Oh well, I feel like when people who don't know the show stumble on a clip, there's plenty of hate for the drops. Yeah.
Right, of course.
From people who don't like. It seems to no disrespect. It seems to align with gamers. Like when Lemmy was on, who has a big gamer following. It was like brutal. It was like really nasty comments.
I mean I'm not surprised by that at all though. I mean, I think gamers and like huge sports fans, you on Twitter and Reddit, you will never hear the end of it. They will tune into the show every week to make sure that you know that this one thing that they still hate.
Right.
So they'll still comment. It's annoying.
Yeah. That's why I'm not a
gamer.
gamer.
Lemmy has a big gamer following because he's on Twitch now.
You know who that is? Lemmy?
From
not Motorhead singer.
I was thinking about that the other day.
We were just talking about
joking
Lemmy.
about that.
No, he's
I don't
British
think so.
guy or Irish? What is he?
Maybe I do.
Scottish.
No, I doubt it.
Okay.
Then.
It's good. You should watch some of his stuff. He came after Tim and Eric, but he was but like very soon after, so he's definitely influenced. But he's been doing his own thing for a long time and sketch comedy. But he also wrote a book that was really good. He wrote 2 books. I read one of them. It was really good. But now he's like full-time Twitch streamer.
He's a Discord mod and stuff.
Yeah. He is very funny. I do like him. Okay, well, we'll get out of talking about hate towards you.
Interesting subject,
No, that's why I wanted to bring it up. It's just because it was, like I said, we talked about it, but it was always something that was like, just surprising.
Well, Carson got hate on Instagram saying that he was lieutenant.
Right, but I think that was just. I don't even think that had to do with office hours. It just happened to correspond with
it just happened. But I was just saying that there's always someone that's always looking for something to be pissed off about.
I had posted that story post that I did while you were on vacation, saying that Lieutenant Carson here taking over. Yada, yada.
That was great.
Oh, thank you. I posted that on my social media, and I posted it as a reel, and some guy named like American Rebel or something like that was like, he's like, what the fuck even are you or something? And I was like, well, I'm definitely not a rebel. And it was just like, and then he just went on and then he was gone.
Stolen valor is what it was.
You were like, stolen valor? Yeah. Was it a stolen valor?
I guess so. I don't know. I just thought it was funny, and I was like, oh, my first time getting hate.
Real hate comment.
Yeah, really.
Down with the haters, man.
Right, they don't like it. Well, they don't, once I wear my camo get up with all my patches, my real stolen valor.
They hate it.
So, but this was your first time. Was this your first time being on like camera as like a personality for anything?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, on camera, yes. I've been on stages.
Right.
On many stages all over the world, bringing laughter and joy.
Right.
For years. And no, I've been on stage. I'm comfortable on stage from playing in bands and stuff in my younger years. It's been a while since I've done that stuff, but yeah, that definitely took getting used to. I did not like being on camera at first, and I found it very uncomfortable, and it was a definite choice to get a camera on me. Wes was kind of like, oh, do you want one? And at first I was like, no. And then it kind of became like, well, you're talking on the show. So I just felt like it makes more sense to see who's talking. It was to give context. It just like made more sense.
Right. No, definitely.
The ubiquitous God looking over the show.
Watching over.
Yeah.
Well, the classic is the like H3 does the control room shot with that guy in there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I was just looking at his profile the other day on Instagram. I think I saw it. I forgot the name of the producer. I forgot it though.
Of what? H3's podcast?
H3's. Yeah, I was just thinking about it.
Well, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah, there are
a lot of guys and girls on that show. Yeah. But the main
but there's one main guy.
There is one main person.
Dan. Dan is the main.
Okay,
yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
I am a fan of that show. I do.
Oh, you watch H3?
Yeah, I listen to it. I don't watch it very often, but I do enjoy listening to his show, and also him and Hassan Piker have a show that's really enjoyable.
They have it together,
right?
Really, I had no
That's
idea.
new,
Left-
right?
yeah,
'Cause,
leftovers.
what's her face left?
Oh,
yeah, that whole
Trisha.
drama.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I don't really follow all that.
Me
stuff, so
neither.
I don't really.
I didn't understand that, but I'm on TikTok and I remember seeing clips about it, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Well, because it was like super
it was,
popular.
it
but-
was really popular. They had a lot of listeners just all over. So.
Yeah, and that and
Like,
same
what, can
thing.
you explain why she's famous? I don't really.
Well, she really got. The only reason I even know about her was during like the 100 layers craze. You know, where everybody was putting 100 layers of like nail polish and like 100 layers of paint on shoes. 100 layers or whatever. She did, I think, legitimately, I think she did 100 layers of cum. I think that's where I heard her from her. Yeah.
What the hell? I don't even want to know what that is.
Yeah.
But she
Seriously, that is how I know her.
Real?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, for real. That is how I know her. I'm not kidding.
I don't
I'll
even.
look it up. I swear.
That's
In
fine.
Pornography?
No,
Well,
no.
she does do
she does do
pornography
stuff.
on OnlyFans. I don't know if
Oh, she does?
yeah, I don't know if that's what she started as, but she was like this big, like internet personality and just kind of like a.
She did a couple fake crying videos, I think.
Well,
where
that
that
comes
was
later.
I know,
I'm talking
but
about how she-
before though.
No,
but
no,
like
no.
that was.
I know what you're saying, but
okay.
she was on a bunch of shows like as a personality. Wasn't she even on Tim and Eric as like a.
Trisha Paytas?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know.
But yeah, so she did. She was just like kind of like a random talent on a bunch of random shows and stuff like that, and then just kind of like would kind of just glom on to people who were popular, and then just kind of like got famous because of that, and then just started like posting a bunch of, like Gavin said, this 100 layers of whatever.
2016, she posted
Okay.
100 layers of cum video up now.
Wow, that was her claim to fame. Okay.
According to Gavin,
To me, that was where I got it from. That's where I even heard of her.
But she was a big internet personality thing, and then I don't know why she gained so much popularity, but then her and Ethan started that show because they had her on a few times.
She had
and
tweeted stuff
like,
about him before, right?
Yeah,
Wasn't it
there's
like
a
she was
whole-
like a hater v, whatever.
There was a whole backstory because they did some shows, and then she would come after him, and then they pretty much became like
Frenemies? That was like the name of the show, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Frenemies.
yeah, the name of the.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but like that was what that was.
right. So then they did that, and then
they did 100
blew up
layers of cum.
together. I don't.
All
You
right.
can keep that to yourself. I
You
don't
just
have-
like saying that over and over.
I think so. I think that's why you keep saying it.
Repetitive comedy is my forte.
Right.
I'm really good.
Well,
at
it is
that.
really funny, as you can
I'm really
obviously
good.
tell.
I'm really good.
We're
at
all
it.
laughing
Yeah.
here about
Everybody's
you can
laughing.
get to 1,000 layers.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can do it.
I'll be right back.
Join our Patreon. Let's because we're coming up on about half an hour or so. Let's do something that I came up with to do for the show, because in case you don't know, if you're not an Office Hours fan, there are a lot of times where guests come on the show and you guys will play a game with them, usually like sometimes, like, they're usually pretty stupid. Like the one I think about that I helped out with was the Hay is For with Colin Hay, where it's like it started out being questions about like hay, and it just like it evolved into something stupid.
Yeah, punny fun games.
Right. So I wanted to flip the tables on you and do a little trivia game with you.
Sure.
And I was thinking about how we can make it interesting. And since Gavin is not a fan,
I'm not an avid listener.
avid listener of Office Hours per se, he knows it mostly because of me talking about
Right.
it. I thought it'd be fun if I have some Office Hours trivia questions to ask both of you
I'm about to go full gamer mode.
to mostly see how well Matt knows the show. But then I thought it would be fun to put Gavin up against you to see if he knows more than you somehow. So
Nice.
I will ask you guys these trivia questions, and I was thinking, we got to put some wager up for it. So whoever loses,
I gotta buckle in.
whoever loses either stays the co-host of the show or becomes it, and whoever wins becomes the producer or stays the producer of Office Hours.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Gavin would take your job if he wins.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
We got to make it fair, I
Yeah.
thought. So
So if I win, I become the co-host.
No,
No.
the producer. If you
You-
lose,
you keep your job.
We switch spots if you lose.
Yeah. And if you win, you keep your
I
job.
see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But what if I lose? What job do I get?
You
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 get
become
mine.
my co-host.
Yeah.
You take Gavin's
Oh,
job.
we switch.
And
Yeah.
nobody
So
wants
what-
that.
No.
So why is this in your interest to win?
What's the what?
Why is it in Gavin's interest to win?
I don't know. Maybe he
I love producing.
he wants to take your job.
All
maybe.
right, I'll go with this. But
Okay. All right.
I have
so
some notes. I have some notes on your game
Well,
so far.
I'll take them. This is the first time we've done a game, so. Okay, number 1. When was producer Matt's first appearance on the show? What episode?
Episode 100. Wait, how does this work? Is it just first one?
So this one is not multiple choice. This one is just if you know the answer, and then some of the other ones are multiple choice. But yeah, so you answer first, and then Gavin will answer after. Or actually, well, vice versa. Gavin, you answer first, and then Matt answers.
Episode 54.
Matt is correct. It was the Office Hours Marathon, which was episode 100, right?
Yes.
Okay. I just had that Office Hours Marathon. It wasn't numbered. Number 2 is multiple choice. What was the first Office Hours spinoff / sideshow? A, Office Hours East. B, Please Please Let It Be. And C, the Al Pacino show. And D, the Joel Hole. Gavin?
The Joel Hole.
Okay. Matt?
Please let it be.
Matt is correct. So
mean,
far.
these
I like
are
the
all-
Joel Hole.
What's that?
These are all things that I would definitely know.
Well, they're going to
So
get
far.
harder, so
All right. Yes,
be
tell
ready.
me.
This one is not a multiple choice. What are Vic and Doug's nicknames on WOHL? Gavin.
DJ Doug Pound and I don't know Vic's name. I just know Vic.
Nickname. What's his nickname? On WOHL.
Oh,
On WOHL.
Wick.
Matt?
W.
Well, it's Skunk and the Shovel, of course.
That's correct.
Oh, okay.
What does Tim from Michigan need? Dog food, potting soil, garden gnomes, or Halloween stuff for his haunted house?
Halloween stuff for his haunted house.
Matt?
I agree.
Okay. That's so far, Gavin, that's your first one right.
I'm really good at test taking.
Number 5, where was congressional candidate Mr. Nobody K.W. Miller running for office? What state? A, Florida, B, Ohio, C, Iowa, or D, Tennessee?
Iowa.
Matt?
Florida. He's a Florida man, a proud Florida man.
Proud Florida man. Number 6, who had the first and short-lived birthday episode of the show? Gavin, was it A, Doug, B, Vic, or C, Tim?
Gotta be Doug.
Matt?
First birthday show.
Who
Trying
had
to
the first
remember.
one?
Maybe Vic?
Is that your final answer?
I'll go Vic, yeah, I guess.
You're correct. It was Vic. He
Which
had the first
yeah,
one.
who was on it? Do you remember?
It was. I just looked at it today, and it was. So Weird Al did a pre-recorded thing.
Yes.
And I am blanking on
The
who
actual
else.
Weird Al Yankovic.
Right, not Weird Al Pacino.
Daniel
Oh,
Radcliffe.
yeah, the burger birthday bash.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, something like that. It was all BEs.
Yeah.
Number 7. What is the most popular on YouTube episode of Office Hours besides the Joe Rogan spoof?
Oh, you
Besides the Joe Rogan
snubbed
spoof.
my answer.
Is it A, Tim's birthday party with Greg, Mark, and Tiffany? B, the episode with Bob Odenkirk? C, the first WOHL Morning Madness? Or D, the one with Tom Segura? Gavin?
I'm gonna say Bob Odenkirk.
Matt?
Can you read them again? Sorry.
Yeah. So Tim's birthday party with Greg and Mark and Tiffany. B, Bob Odenkirk. C, the first WOHL. Or D, Tom Segura?
I think it might be WOHL.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah, I'm going with that.
You both are incorrect. It was it is Tim's birthday party with Greg and Mark and
Oh.
Tiffany. That's the most popular one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty recent.
Yeah, very recent. It had like
Huh.
130,000 views or something on
I
the
thought the
full
Bob
episode.
Odenkirk one because he's really.
It is up
Better
there.
Call Saul is really popular on TikTok.
It's definitely up there. We got a couple more questions here. Number 8, who does Robin Cooper think the president is in 2020? Is it A, President Trumpet, B, President Robert, C, President Blake, or D, President Winslow?
Trumpet.
Matt?
gonna go with trumpet also.
You both are incorrect. It's President Blake.
Oh,
Do you remember Robin
okay.
Cooper?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I don't remember the president part of it.
That was my favorite bit, probably maybe of all time ever. It was this comedian Robert Popper, right? Is that his last name?
Yes.
Yeah, he called in and does this character Robin Cooper, and it's just like this, old person who doesn't really know what they're doing, and it was super funny. Number
British.
9, what were you saying?
Very British.
Yes, very British.
Okay.
Number 9, who is Doug's long-lost brother? Is it A, Jason Dill, B, LP from Run the Jewels, C, A.D. Miles, or D, Randy Newman?
LP.
Matt?
LP. Correct.
Okay, you both
LP
are-
is correct.
You both are correct.
I like
Matt,
Run the Jewels.
Matt is
So
still
I
the
knew
lead,
that answer.
of course.
I'm really good at test taking.
Final question. Which of these things has Phil Braun not done? So which one has he not done?
Got it.
So A, dressed up as Satan Claus instead of Santa Claus. B, became the head writer for Gutfeld. C, filled his basement with water to create an underground swimming pool. D, court the widow Elizabeth Dole. Or E, he has done all of the above. Gavin?
I'm gonna go E. All the above.
He has done all the above.
I'm going C. I don't recall the pool one.
Well, you are correct, Matt. And you win, so you get to keep your job.
Thanks. Thanks, I guess.
Great incentives.
Much of a prize.
Well, we don't have any other thing to give you, so maybe next
me
time.
Just
Yes.
our undying support.
Right, exactly. Just our support and admiration
Yeah.
for the show.
So I just have a question for you. I know that you've at least talked to or know of Mac DeMarco, and I'm
Mhm.
just curious as to basically how that all started, because I've been a fan of Mac DeMarco since like 2017 or 2018, I think, around there. I heard a couple of his songs and I really, really liked it, and I'm just curious about that because I also watched an episode, and this is the only reason why I even know who Doug is of the
Pound House.
Pound House. He did an episode with Mac DeMarco, and I was like, that was the episode that got me into Doug, and that got me into like that universe.
Well, I looked and I couldn't find an episode with.
Oh, Two Dry Guys.
Yeah.
You're talking about
Dry Guys, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Dry Guys, not
Okay.
Pound Town.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah. That's Two Wet Crew.
Yeah,
not
Two Wet Crew.
Pound House.
Yep.
But very close. Same people.
Yeah.
Right. Were you in that with him? I thought I remember you telling me you met Mac and Doug, or you met Mac through Doug, but I thought I remember you saying you guys were on the same.
Tangentially, I was I met Joe and Pierce from Mac's band back then. We were basically extras in an episode of the Pound House.
Right.
And so I met those guys just completely randomly, and we just hit it off and goofing around. And then I had never heard of Mac DeMarco, and I was like, oh, what do you whatever. We were just like getting to know each other, and they had just moved to LA to like pursue the band more, I guess, or I don't know, because Mac had moved here. I don't know the exact. And they were like, oh yeah, we play in this band with this guy Mac DeMarco, and I'd never heard of it. And then they were like, oh, come to the show. And so I went to this show at what's the name of the place? The Echo, which is a very small venue for him to play, because I didn't realize he was big, and it was like pandemonium and like all these young people crowd surfing to mellow music, and I felt very old and out of touch and confused. And I was like, what is going on? But then I met Mac, and I was closest with Pierce and Joe. I would see them more, but we'd all hang out and get into trouble in Los Angeles. And then just, cool LA guys around town,
Right.
cool guys
Hitting it
stuff.
big.
Right.
playing pinball.
Oh,
playing
yeah.
pinball, drinking brewskis.
There you go. That's the life.
And Matt, where did Mac live? I'm trying to remember.
Tell me his address.
Yeah. What's his address?
Can you dox him for me?
It was public knowledge for a while. His
Oh,
one in
Okay,
New
I
York.
think I do. I heard about that.
Actually, Mac moved back to New York. That's right. And Pierce and Joe stayed. So I don't. But then he'd like come out here on tour, and then I went to Coachella with them once, which was
Right. You did tell me that.
which was fun, kind of fun, but kind of not. Staying in some like shithole Airbnb.
Right.
But
Rent
yeah,
a
so
tent.
just like mutual friend, bandmate thing, and yeah, super nice, fun guy. And now he's out here, obviously, and
Mhm.
I don't. No one, I think part pandemic and part age, like nobody's going out as much, but
Right.
certain shows I'll see him at once in a while. He'll be out. Like, you ever listen to I don't know how familiar you are with like Mac's band, but Andy White was his guitarist for a while.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't. You would
He
know
has-
more than I
Yeah, I
do.
guess it would. Yeah.
He has a band. If they come around, you should definitely check him out. Called Tone Start Band.
How is that spelled?
TONBANDT.
Okay.
Something.
Yeah.
Tone Start.
Tone Start.
So that was the last
Oh,
time I
there it
saw
is.
Mac out and about. Was
Okay.
at a Tone Start Band show.
I'll have to look into them. I don't know if I've
Yeah,
ever heard
go.
of them.
But yeah, I just, I learn, not to make it all like, not to be condescending, or there's a non-condescending way to put it. But if you're like, I lived in New York before, and then we moved to LA, me and my wife. And so like, if you, and Tim too, meeting Tim, like if you just sort of hang around creative people long enough, some of them become successful.
Right.
So you just put your time in early,
Yeah.
and then you can have famous friends, I guess.
There you go. That's how
if
you
it
do it.
matters.
Yeah.
But also, like, you're just, if you're in New York or LA, there's just more people doing creative stuff. So, like, it just becomes more normal to be hanging around with people doing stuff,
Right.
Whatever creative stuff it may be. I mean, to varying degrees. It's like there's certainly plenty of people doing it to no crowd and no audience, which is what it was like in our early 20s. Like,
Right.
like
Like what we
seeing-
do, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, yes. You have
right.
to keep at it a long time.
Right. Right. No. Yeah. Definitely.
Tim, when me and Tim were temps together doing data entry, and
Mhm.
like Tim was kind of figuring it out, and he had a band that I was sort of loosely involved with, like helping him out and stuff. And it got to a point where the band could draw, maybe 100 people, maybe like a really big one, 150, and like, working a lot and really begging friends to attend. And like,
Right.
Giving out free
and
tickets to
then-
friends and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and then it builds from there, and, and then, you get on TV and it turns into something
You're right.
where it does,
Huge.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So the story of how you and Tim met has kind of already been, it's pretty public, and I think people already know that whole story of you guys meeting.
I
then,
think so. Yeah.
for the most part. But then I don't know. This is kind of circling back to you bringing up Doug and Mac and them. I don't think people know that you met Doug early on to when you moved out to LA, and then I don't know if it's ever been said on the air that you were in an episode of the Pound House. I don't know if I've ever heard. I'd only heard that from you. I don't remember that ever being talked about.
It may have been. I don't know. I mean, I'm only on for like half a second.
Right.
It's much more significant to me personally in meeting a really good friend. Like, I really like those guys a lot. So especially Pierce.
Right.
So he's like a really close friend. So it was like more important to me in that regard. But I knew Doug just from Tim for, many years, because he was, I'd come visit LA and, see him around, and like kind of a lot of the Abso people from that early era. I just kind of met along the way. I wasn't necessarily friends with most of them or see them much, but I would kind of like had met a lot of those folks.
Right.
Doug and I mean, obviously I knew Eric from those early days too, because he was around and we would hang out and stuff. But like Ben Berman was around those days, and Clark, this guy Clark Reinking. So there's just like there was like an ABSO scene in that during those early days.
And you just knew all those guys from just knowing Tim and stuff.
Yeah, just friendly. And then Vic.
Yeah.
Vic I kind of knew online.
Okay.
From before, because he, and then and then when he moved out here, I mean, I didn't really see him much. I didn't like know him well until I started doing the show, really.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my other question, is how you met Vic, and if there was ever anything early on, if it was just when you got more.
We would chat online on occasion, more as like me being a fan, but he knew the connection. And then I can't remember the first time I met him in person. Might have been a screening of Tim. Might have been a Moonbase. There was a very early Moonbase 8 screening.
Oh,
a friends and family kind of thing. I think I might have met him the first time there.
Okay. So that would have been like,
but again, just like everybody's just like around, but also we're we don't really hang out nobody's hanging out as much these days.
Right.
Or because of COVID also, but also like once there's kids involved,
right?
And
you guys already see each other.
You have like a established schedule, and
you guys already you know what everybody's up to.
Well, that's a thing too. Like when you're working with people every week, you don't necessarily hang out.
Right.
Although I do, mine and Tim's family do end up hanging out a lot. But
right. No, I remember you saying that.
Yeah.
Right. So I think the last thing I wanted to say, and then we do a segment every episode that we'll get into, that I think it'd be fun to have you a part of. But
cool.
One last thing that I wanted to ask is, so like obviously, like I've said, is that starting out as a fan and then kind of seeing seeing the show as what it was and then evolve and everything like that. And when I came on board as first as an intern and then now as an assistant, I was like, wow, this is going to be so eye-opening and so, crazy to see how all of this works and how it all comes together. And then it was just like, it's also like at face value. And it's just like, oh, there's really not like there's nothing like super crazy behind the scenes that like goes into making the show. And a lot of the stuff I've come to find out is just like kind of day of.
It's almost like putting on like a stage show, we worked in theater together.
Right. But like, so that's still writing a show. That's a lot
even
more.
Less than that.
Right. And I just felt like,
I know what you mean. I think that's the part of the charm of the show, is that it really is improv,
Right.
I think improv is this, like, personally, I'm not very into, like, to me, the prime example of that would be Comedy Bang Bang. Would be like very, I guess it's weird to call it traditional because it's considered like alt and wacky, but to me, that's like very traditional contemporary improv.
Right.
Which I'm personally not into at all.
Yeah. But
in a few minutes.
Right.
So to me, this is like Tim's version of improv, is to just like, some stuff. I will say some stuff, when it gets written a little bit, it's often, it can be better. Some of the stuff, when there's a little bit of effort put in, is better. But we do have our Tuesday meeting. We have our Tuesday call. So we talk for an hour every Tuesday. Sometimes a little less. So like there's, some planning.
Right. No. It's not like there's no planning at all. But like you said, like I think that's cool for somebody who's just a listener, that it really is like you see everything that goes into it, more or less,
Yeah.
which I think is
I mean,
cool.
I think you're not seeing the boring part, which is
Right.
mostly me and you now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boring stuff of like setting up the stream thing on YouTube, and like there's a lot of like little, but it's not tons of work. It's probably a couple hours a week of work all in,
Right.
of like setting up stuff, like boring stuff. But then the booking can be, I always liken it to like stirring the pot. For me, there's a lot of pot stirring going on, of like checking in who's available and, booking guests and looking at band schedules to see who's going to be in town, and,
Right.
like hitting up a publicist and saying, so-and-so is going to be in town in September. Can we start, what do you think? Can they come in? And that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Which is more of what you do and stuff. And
yeah.
And like you said, can be obviously it's more boring stuff and not really something you want to put out there on the internet for people to see.
There's nothing to see. It's like there's nothing to see.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Is there anything for Office Hours fans, like, I'm trying to figure out how I'm trying to say this, but like,
what do you want me to spill the beans about?
I guess that's what I was going. I don't know, just something that's interesting about what
Spilling
goes into the
beans
show
all night.
right?
Yeah.
Spill some beans about something cool that's maybe people don't know about the show.
Nick is a monster, a total egomaniac. Doug is a raging alcoholic.
Right.
Yep.
Tim is a sex addict.
Oh
Yeah.
no,
That's awful.
that might be obvious on the show though.
In a sick, depraved way. I don't know. I'm trying to think what would be surprising.
Yeah.
I think what you pointed out, I think it's like, well, I don't know. I don't think there's many surprises, because you kind of, what you see was what you get.
Right.
I mean, there's definitely things and people that we don't like. And there's a long list of comedy that none of us like.
Right.
That, we wouldn't want to get into.
No, obviously
it would
not.
be rude.
And some of it is somewhat brought up on the show. I think.
Plenty of it is public, but
yeah.
Some might be surprising. I mean, I think it's just like, I guess, at the end of the day, having been around a fair amount of comedians, like there are certain comedian things that are still there, that these guys are the best of the best and they're the easiest, but there's still sort of like personality things that like comedians are, they can be pains in the asses. They can be particular.
Right.
They notice everything. I think there's like just things about the comedy, the comedically oriented minds that are like, you have to kind of like get used to and be ready for.
Right. No, I just with the little I've seen or heard about, it's that is definitely, what most people don't see is that part, and all.
Yeah,
that,
I think maybe, but I guess this day and age, everyone sees so much behind the scenes that it's less so. But like, I think there's still this notion of like, you'll see on, like in social media comments, perhaps like, oh man, it must be wild hanging out with these guys, and like they're so crazy, and oh man, I would love to do mushrooms with you guys, and like.
Dream blunt rotation, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And it's like, I mean, I guess it goes both ways. It's like, you'd be surprised how boring it is, but you'd also be surprised how much genuine fun. Like these guys are fun to hang out with, and like we do laugh and have fun, as the cliche goes. The saying goes.
Yeah.
So like, I think we genuinely like hanging out. So like, I think the most fun part is that like hour right before the show when everyone's kind of getting amped up. That might be interesting to see.
Yeah. We need we should
get
shoot
into
like
their
a
own.
behind the scenes or something sometime for like Patreon members. Obviously not put everything in it, but
Yeah.
I think people would love to see that kind of like what goes on
Yeah,
before the
maybe.
show, and
Yeah, sure.
the jokes being crafted is always
Yeah.
fun. But yeah, no, that's I like you said, everything's pretty much already out there on the table for you, but
Yeah, you're seeing it. You're
right,
not,
which
nothing's
is
gonna
fun.
shock you to your core.
Exactly. No, nobody needs to be
You'll be
shocked.
shook.
Anyways. No.
You'll be shook when
You'll
you
be
hear
shook.
this information.
You shook, Gavin?
Yeah.
You look a little shocked over there.
No, I'm not actually.
Okay. I'm gaslighting you. Sorry.
Yeah.
So let's go into. So every week we do a segment between Gavin and I, or if we have a guest on, that we call it's super creative name.
Yeah.
It's called What You Listening To, and it's pretty much what it is, where it's Gavin and I will share an album or a band or a song that we've been listening to throughout the past week, and either recommend it to each other or recommend it to people who listen, and it just gives us a chance to kind of talk about music
Right.
for the last however many minutes of the show. And we'd like to have you involved in that because I know you're a music imbiber and you have interesting taste in
I'm
music.
cheating and looking at my.
Oh,
No,
it's
that's-
okay. It's so okay. I spend like the last 15 minutes looking at like
Yeah.
all the Spotify things I've listened to the last week just to make sure.
It's usually last minute for us too, anyways, of what's been on. But if you want to figure out what you're listening to, Gavin and I can go ahead and go.
Yeah.
Gavin, would you like to go first? You want me to go first?
No, this week I have it figured out. I figured it out right before we started recording.
Got it off the dome.
Got it off right off the dome. Right off the dome piece.
Right.
I am listening to the Gorillaz' new single with Thundercat called Cracker Island. It's got a really cool beat, really nice vibe to it. I really enjoy it. Just great listen, easy listening, and it's another good Gorillaz song I like. So
And that's cool. It has Thundercat in it,
Yeah.
who was on Office Hours. So
yeah, I did
there's
know.
the
I did
tie-in
know that.
there.
I did know that.
But so what's is it different than old Gorillaz stuff? Like what's
Not really. It's just
not really.
it's funky.
It's funky.
It's got a groove to
You
it.
played it for me a little bit.
Yeah,
and
it's pretty good. I like it.
Need to listen to it more. Not a huge Gorillaz fan. Obviously, I like them. Like
They're polarizing. I feel like they're really polarizing.
Right.
Some people really like them. Some people really don't like them.
right. Yeah, and I haven't listened to them enough. But
I grew up on them, so what can I say?
Well, I did too. I'm just not as big a fan of them.
I didn't know they had a new one.
Yeah. When did that? How long? When did you say that came out?
Like
last
Friday
week
or Thursday
Yeah.
or something.
Because they haven't really came out with anything for a while, have they?
They were putting out stuff. I think it was called like the Sound Machine or something like that, and they did a few songs with Tame Impala and stuff like that. But I
Right.
really wasn't digging it. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy that.
Right.
It seemed it had that vibe of like we're making things during quarantine kind of vibe,
Right.
kind of thing to it. So
Right.
putting out music to put out music. I like David Alburn's stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So
He was the lead. That was the guy who's lead singer of
yeah.
Blur, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Right.
You know
That's
that
how I
song.
know them.
Song too.
Matt, do you have what you're listening to? Otherwise, I can go if you're not ready still.
Well, it sounds like I'm sucking up to the boss, but I've been
Uh-oh.
going into a Bob hole of Bob
Mm.
Dylan because we went to see him a couple weeks ago.
Right.
So I've been listening to recent Bob, which, I mean, it's 2 years old now, but Rough and Rowdy Ways is just great. It really is legitimately great. And then I kind of went back from there and I revisited Time Out of Mind, which I was not a fan of for a while, but it's a little overproduced for me
Mm.
because Daniel Lanois. But of course, I always liked the Lovesick is that song off that was on in the Victoria's Secret commercial. I don't know if that would have been on your radar.
How long
It's a
ago?
very weird thing for Bob Dylan to be in a.
Whenever I think
Right.
of Bob Dylan, I think of Bob Dylan, Victoria's Secret.
Yeah. No, it was very weird, but it's a great song. And Love and Theft. So those three
Our recent albums.
albums. I mean, recent. I'm looking now. Time Out of Mind was '97. Love and
Oh,
Theft
okay.
was 2001. So
Pretty
like
recent.
for Bob,
Right.
You know, like,
Right.
the last 20 years is not what most people.
That's my whole life.
Thinking
That's our
about.
whole lives.
Yeah.
By the way.
That's the last 20
Yeah.
years is our life.
Yeah. But if you were to think about listening to Bob Dylan, you probably wouldn't
No, absolutely not.
think to listen to those.
Right.
So I mean, it's an interesting subject of like late eras of bands and musicians, which I tend to like a lot of the time. Like a lot of people, I mean, Pavement, when we had them on the show, and that whole thing of like, which albums do you listen to? I actually like their later albums, so I kind of like when a band settles in and like gets more into the production and stuff.
Right.
Bob, with Dylan, it's more about like concise storytelling and writing, I guess, or sort of old timey. I don't know how to describe it. It's got a very interesting perspective.
Right.
And he says the word, going back to 100 Layers of Cum, there's a line in his hit song Black Rider off of Rough and Rowdy Ways, where he has a very funny line about it's not the size of your cock.
I need to listen to a little bit more Bob Dylan.
Apparently you do.
Look out, Black Rider.
I'm just...
You're like, wait, what the hell is going on? Bob
Dylan, 100 Layers of Cum. We got it all.
Bob Dylan, featuring
Not
Trisha
the size
Paytas.
of your cock.
Yeah.
I'm
Very
really
weird.
I'm stoked we
But
circled
it's a
back
great-
to that. I'm so glad we got...
back to the
I'm really
cock.
glad that, Matt, you brought it back to that.
Cocks and cum
Yes.
and cum and cocks.
That's all
Let's
this
go,
show's
baby.
about. That's all this is about. Yeah, that is interesting. How does...
We're covered in cocks and cum.
100 Layers
That's the
of
name
it.
of the episode now.
We've covered cocks and we've covered cum.
We've done
Sorry,
it
wait,
all.
We've gone down the list.
No, I was just gonna say, how does I haven't really tried to get into Bob Dylan, and
Tough. There's a lot.
right, how does it is the new stuff different compared to the quote unquote old stuff? Like,
Yes,
does
very
it,
different.
okay, so he does change, because I just
Yeah.
I guess I always think of him as like, like you brought up, like telling stories
Okay.
throughout songs and folk music, like
Yeah.
just kind
Ring
of
of
in my
Fire.
head he stays the same.
Ring of Fire is what I think of Bob
You
Dylan.
gotta I think you gotta find, I'm not like Tim where I love all of it. I like particular albums, and I got super deep into a few particular albums.
Right.
Right.
So you have to kind of find your way in.
Yeah, I want to give it a shot and
We got to get a Bob
see where-
Dylan math rock, screamo, hardcore album. And
That
then
would be
I
amazing.
don't know, what's
then
your scene?
What's that?
That's what your scene is like technical
Yeah.
yelly stuff.
Yeah, I hardcore, metalcore, but then now recently, the stupid subgenre that I really, really like is called mathcore, which is combining obviously math rock and hardcore. So it's it's more technical metalcore.
Right.
But all that it's all yelling garbage. It is all garbage at the end of the day in a good way, But the people who make it know
Who
it.
are like the OG math rockers would be like
Math rock or mathcore?
math rock.
Math rock. The
Or
one
you're not
that-
even into that.
Yeah, kinda. I couldn't really tell you what the original math rock people are, but the one I always think of that I like is this group, Minus the Bear,
Oh, okay.
which probably predates even the conceptualizing of math rock, because a lot of the guys from that band were in a mathcore metalcore band called Botch, and then they formed Minus the Bear. But I don't know what would be early math rock, and I know it's out there. I'm not as well versed into that.
Don Caballero. That's what I'm thinking of.
Okay, I've heard of him, but I don't know. Couldn't tell you much.
It's a band. It's
Right.
not a him.
Oh, sorry.
Anyway,
Band.
what's your album? What have you been listening to?
Well, speaking of Tim, I'm pandering a bit here, but I have been listening to Tim's new record, High School.
Of course, yes.
I have.
That's it.
I was trying to get away from recommending that, just because like I said, it is kind of pandering, but it truly is what I'm listening to and what I'm liking a lot right now. And especially,
It's great.
yeah, it's really, really good. Sirens of Titan is amazing.
it's
and I
because you
also-
hosted the listening party, right?
right, and so I just we talk music, and I really like Chillin' in Alaska as well. Those two songs are my favorites on it, and it's just really good. Just a fun album to listen to.
Agreed. It's another winner.
Right, gold, certified gold.
Bang.
Certified gold winner.
Well, anything else, Gavin, that you
No, I mean it's been really nice to meet you, man. I've heard a lot about you, good things about you.
Yeah.
Carson
Thank you.
actually.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday to come on and do this. We want to have you back on at some point in time again to hopefully.
I hope I wasn't too boring.
No, you were just boring.
You had me captivated. So
no, it was perfect. You know, we like you said, we talked about it.
We had a real ghost hunter on, so
right.
I mean, it nothing as exciting as that. Yeah, true story.
We did.
Yeah,
earlier this year.
This year, we had real ghost hunter on.
I don't think we talked about 100 Layers of Cum with him.
I can't say we did that, but you know,
there's always new ground.
Yeah.
Right. Well, right. There is always newgrounds.com.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that's it. Thank you for being on.
Yeah.
And doing this, and we would love to have you back on again soon. And
Peace out.
Peace out. I'm sure I'll be talking with you tomorrow.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love.
All right, Matt. Thank you.
Matt. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Goodbye, bye.